Hi friends, Mindy here. I have a different kind of video for you today. I was recently reminded of this process from watching another artist here on YouTube. I will try to link her video down below. This is just a kind of a nice way to kind of create some collage fodder or some different things that you can use in an art journal or whatever, like the one I have here. Some people call these master boards. You can call them whatever you want. Basically, I have a sheet of mixed media paper. It's pretty heavy duty. This is Bristol vellum paper, vellum smooth, that's the finish on it. And so it's a good mixed media paper. It's going to stand up to all of what we're about to do to it. And I'm going to just take some matte medium and start gluing down some various papers. These are things that I've had sitting on my desk recently from some scraps from some recent projects, some just collage fodder that I've had. Some of it was left over from when I created the art journal. And I'm just going to take these bits and pieces that have been sitting around here, and I'm going to glue them all in random fashion down to this board. And it's really just paper. And then I have this little heart with these hedgehogs on it. I have no idea where it came from, so it's been sitting on my desk for a while. I can't remember where it came from, so it's going on here on this little board. Now this next piece right here had some butterflies cut out of it, and I wanted to save those for the shape of it, but I didn't realize that whatever I had made that with, whenever I had made it, had some water-soluble pigment on it. So it must have been like some distress ink or something. So when I applied the matte medium to it, it started to bleed, which is not going to affect anything. It's not going to hurt anything. So I basically am just going to keep working. I went ahead and dried it just for a minute so that it would stop smearing the color. But with the matte medium, it's going to seal everything down. Here's some raffia that was from a recent By the Will for God journaling kit that I had left over. This right here is a tea bag. Actually, I let the tea dry out, and then I empty the tea bag, and then I save the bags. They can be used for all kinds of interesting textures in your mixed media work. So that's what that is. And then here's what I'm showing. I'm going to go ahead and dry that section right there with the butterflies. Doing this will keep, once that dries, it will be sealed down now, so I won't have to worry about the color leaching off of everything. So here I have some map paper. This is something left over from when I was creating my little art journal, and I just thought that would be fun. And you can see I'm not particular about what goes next to what, and or colors or anything, because it's all going to end up looking cohesive in the end. It's going to look like a hot mess until basically I cut it apart. But that's kind of the fun of it. So you don't have to think about anything. This is some deli paper that had been printed on from a Jello plate. I have some more book text. I have some music paper, just all kinds of different things. I'm just trying to avoid having to cut it all down. I'm trying to just not hang anything off of the edge, but you could certainly do that too, and then just trim it down. And I'm trying to make sure that I have these pieces in several places across this whole paper, because it's all going to get cut apart, and so you want to have different textures and different things in all the different areas as much as possible. This little card with the stamp, the flower on it came from a kit from a journal that I just made, and it was sitting on my desk. Somehow it didn't get put away when I finished making that journal, so it got put on this page. And these were some leftover pieces, again, from when I created that art journal, and I just thought having the black will really kind of just help ground some things as well. So again, I'm just going through this whole process, and I won't make you watch me glue absolutely everything down. I just want to kind of give you an idea for the different kinds of textures and patterns and different things that are on here. I also have some tissue that I'm going to be sticking down. Here's some tissue. This is craft colored that's been printed on. And then I have some By the Will for God tissue, and this is actually Tomo River paper that I was testing some markers on it, and then I used the backside to put some extra paint, and so that's what this is. And the texture of that, it was just amazing, so I wanted to include that. So you can see I've glued everything down now, and the last layer that I'm going to be doing in terms of gluing things down is this masking tape. This just adds another fun texture, and I go ahead and put a little bit of matte medium over the top of this too, just to really make sure everything is sealed down, and so it's not going to pop up when I'm, you know, after I've cut these apart or whatever. So just adding the masking tape in a few little places. Just there's no rhyme or reason to it, just where I felt like there was something missing or whatever. And then this next part here, you can't see, I lost some footage there. I thought I was recording, but anyway, I just used some white gesso, and I kind of just applied it with my finger and a baby wipe, and just kind of put it in all of the areas where the two different papers met, like the seam kind of. And so now what I'm doing is I'm going to use this makeup sponge and some just cheap acrylic paint and the stencil, and I'm going to be stenciling through just creating this little design, this Harlequin design. And what I was showing there is when you're stenciling with acrylic paint, it's really important to not have too much paint on your applicator, whatever. If you're using a stenciling brush, or if you're using a makeup sponge like I'm doing here, if you have too much paint on there, it's going to leach underneath the stencil, and you won't get as clear of an image. For a project like this, it doesn't really matter if the stenciling isn't perfect, because the whole thing is going to be imperfect. But if you want a really crisp image when you're stenciling with paint, just make sure you don't have too much on whatever you're using to apply it. So I'm just going through here and adding this in a bunch of different places, you know, again, trying to remember that this big board is going to get cut down into smaller pieces. So I want to make sure that I have the pattern in as many places as I can get. And then the next thing that I thought would be fun would be to use some bubble wrap. I had this actually sitting on my desk as well. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my paintbrush and apply the paint to the bubble wrap, and then I will use that as almost like a stamp. And having the black layer next is really going to kind of help push all of the busyness kind of to the background. And just kind of helps, it just kind of helps solidify everything and bring everything together. Anytime you're having, you know, patterns that are overlapping multiple areas, it just makes everything more cohesive. And then when you're using black, it just kind of helps ground everything and knock some of it back. Got a little goober on my page there. So I'm just going to go around with my my bubble wrap here and just kind of carefully applying it. And then I decided I would just go ahead and do the same thing with some white gesso, just for the contrast. Having black and white on a project like this, that contrast with all of the busyness in the background, it just makes for a really more interesting look. And then I decided I needed some more purple, so I'm taking a credit card and I'm just kind of dragging it through the paint and kind of tapping it off so that you end up with just a small ridge of paint here. I got a little bit too much. I'm just going to wipe that off with a baby wipe, just kind of soak some of that up. And then I'm just going straight across the edge, and I'm just making some art marks or some lines in various places around this paper, just to add some more interest, just another layer. And I personally think purple makes everything better. So it also is going to help tie the colors in from the art journal, where I'll probably be using most of these pieces. So and then I am going to do the same thing again with some white, just to try to bring everything together and add some more contrast there. And then I'm just taking the white and I'm kind of really dragging it through the gesso, and then and I'm very lightly just kind of skimming over the top of the paper, and it's going to hit all of the kind of ridges and high points of some of this paper where there's a lot of texture and stuff, and just going to add another little bit of interest there. So now I'm just going to clean up my paint here, and I do that I just pulled out a couple tags, and I'm just soaking up some of the paint, and I'll get all that cleaned up. So now that all of that is finished and dry, I have some charcoal pencils. These, I have a white one, and then I have a few black ones. I'm only going to be doing the black one for right now, and I'm just going to go around and kind of emphasize some of these diamonds. Not all of them, and not even like tracing it completely, but just some sketchy lines, just to kind of bring back that those diamonds, because they kind of got a little bit lost. It just helps your eye, draws your eye to them. And then I'm tracing that one little loop because I thought it was fun. And some of the little circles that from the paint, and just different areas, different art marks. You could make little scribblies or write, you know, words or whatever, however you want to do it, just to make some kind of random art marks on there. And I had a little bit that was kind of hanging off the edge there, so I trimmed that down. And now I'm going to figure out how to cut this paper down. So what I decided to do is, this is 9 by 12, this paper. So I'm going to cut it into 3 strips first, and I'm doing this face down for a couple of reasons. One is it's just going to make cutting it just a little bit easier, because it's not going to get, you know, hung up on all the layers as easily. You can see I'm having to go back and forth and even use my scissors a little bit just because it's really thick. But also it's kind of fun, the element of surprise when you flip it over and see what you have left. And then I couldn't decide at this point the sizes that I wanted to do. So what I'm going to do is each one of these strips I'm going to do in different sizes. So this first one, I decided I was going to do in, I think it's like it ends up being like 2 inches. At first I thought I will just eyeball it, but then I was like, if I do that, then I'm going to try and spend too much time. I'm going to overthink it. So I decided to just flip it over and go for roughly 2 inches for all of these. And then, so this little strip will end up being all 2 by 3. And then there's going to be one that's just a little bit short because of that first one I didn't really actually measure. But so I'm going to make a pile just of these, and these will become tags. You can kind of see how they ended up looking here. And then the next one I'm going to do 4 inches. So these will be 3 by 4, and I can use these in various ways. I can trim them down even if I want to later. I just wanted to have a few just different sizes so that I can do some different things with it. These would even be a neat background for, you know, a card base or something if you wanted to. And then this last strip I'm going to do 3 by 3, so I'll end up with 3 by 3 squares. No, 4 3 by 3 squares. It's late, I can't do math. Okay, so these are what they look like at the end, and I could I may even go around and do some sewing on these later, but for right now, here are the 4 3 by 3 squares, and then I'm going to take all these 2 by 3s, and I'm just using a tag that I already have, and I'm just trimming off, just using it as a template to trim off the corners. I did not put holes in them yet because I'm not sure how I want to do that at this point, so for now I just cut them off into their little just so they have the tag shape, and then I'm going to leave the 3 by 4 cards down here. So those are all my tags. I'll leave some close-up pictures at the end. If you like this video, I would appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And until next time, bye-bye.